I hear the word Tamagotchi, my mind instantly goes back to the tiny black and white pixel games, namely the older versions from 1996 and 1997, and the Connections edition, because those were the editions I played as a kid. However, nowadays, Tamagotchis are in color. When I heard that the Tamagotchi Uni was coming out, it piqued my interest in the series again. I decided to pre-order as soon as possible. I have heard of colored Tamagotchis and have seen screenshots from the Sanrio meets and the Sanrio mix, I believe, but this was one I caught interest. It was actually in English, so I was like, hey, why not? But, however, I realized it was a mistake to ever lose interest in Tamagotchis, because the second they go out of print, they usually cost like hundreds of dollars on eBay. I feel like part of this is due to the pandemic, because just in general there was a huge marketing boom when it came to selling video games and so on online. But anyways, for this video you're about to see, I wanted to make a friendly review that accurately showed the road going from a classic Tamagotchi to the brand new Uni. So before the Uni came in, I got a classic Tamagotchi to play with. More specifically, it's the re-release of Generation 2. The box for this is rather simple and to the point. You watch, feed, and grow your Tamagotchi. The Tama itself is rather tiny, but if you played these games before, it isn't much of a surprise. The design is rather appealing with a variety of different colors and patterns, such as stars and clouds. However, when it comes to the ones from 1997, they barely had much style to them. Typically, they'd only have a specific set of colors, such as green and yellow, or holographics, though once in a while they'd have patterns that greatly fit the time period they were created in. The clock's designs look very reminiscent of the 90s. There were even special Tamagotchis made for different countries that had their animal, and even a special Tamagotchi that was made when Hong Kong became an independent country. The patterns on mine fit more closely to what was made for the Connections. They have patterns similar to this with flowers, clovers, hearts, and stars alike. They probably did this to appeal more to kids these days and give us older Tama players more appealing designs to the table, because some of these were kind of boring, I admit. When I got this Tamagotchi, I found it interesting that the Tamagotchi had already been played. I had ordered this one off of the Amazon warehouse, and my guess is that the factory workers got a little bored during the shift and took care of it for a while, all before letting it pass away after 2 days. The Tamagotchi activates as soon as you pull off the tab attached to it, but of course with me, it was for naught, since it was already activated. But if you get a brand new Tama that hasn't been opened, that's how you'll be able to turn it on. Once activated, you will get an egg. After a few minutes, it'll hatch into a kid. Once you're able to get the little guy out of the egg, you will have a few options that will help take care of it. These are a knife and fork, which brings in the food and snacks, the light bulb, which you use to turn off the lights when your Tamagotchi goes to sleep, the baseball bat, which brings you to a game of left and right. Very simple. Then you get a syringe, which medicates your Tama when it's sick, a duck, which cleans up after it uses the bathroom, scale, which is stats, then an angry Pac-Man, which is discipline. Since there's only very few things to do here, you don't have to keep an eye on this Tamagotchi 24/7, which blows my mind since I'd always get distracted by these things when I was a kid. Just make sure that the hearts here are as full as possible, especially if you're trying to get a good one like Mimichi or Mamichi. The evolution chart is also rather tiny. There's only a handful of evolutions you could get, depending on how much you can take care of it. All the babies have one form, Shiro Baby Tree, until it evolves into a teenager. That of which you can either get Tongarchi or Hashitamachi, depending on how well you take care of it. When you get Hashitamachi, there's no way to get the Tamas with better care. You will only get the ones with bad care, which is Hashizochi, Takochi, and Kusachi. However, if you get Tongarchi and take bad care of it, you'll still be able to get some of these guys if you really don't take care of them. Though if you take better care of it, you could get Mimichi, Pochichi, and Tsuchichi, which can evolve into Zachi. If you have Generation 1, it's different. The baby is Baby-chi, the child is Maru-chi. The teens can be either Tamachi or Kuchimami-chi. When you take care of it, you could get Mami-chi, Junjiro-chi, or Mas-chi, who can turn into Bill Clinton in the international versions for some reason. If you take bad care of the Tamagotchi, you can get Tarako-chi, Nairo-chi, or the beloved Kuchipachi. There's also Oyachi-chi in the Japanese version, who basically takes Bill Clinton's place. Unlike the more modern versions, these older Tamagotchis can't reproduce unless they're the Mezu-chi or the Ozu-chi. Though despite the simplistic features of the older Tamagotchis, they're easily a classic. There is a reason why there was a major Tamagotchi boom during the 90s after all. My only complaint, if any, is that the sound could be rather loud. Now onto the Tamagotchi Uni. It came in a box with a watch band, the Uni itself, and a charger. The Uni didn't turn on at first, even when I pressed the button. However, it seemed to work when I charged it, and I was able to turn it on that way. Part of the reason why I was charmed by the Uni is the fact that you can charge it, something I think is way better than the previous versions. When I was a kid, I used to ignore my Tamagotchi as soon as the battery died because I couldn't replace it, and I didn't know how to use a screwdriver for the life of me, and I never asked my parents about it. But it's not a problem anymore since I'm an adult who actually knows things. But yeah, I think that the USB-C is a great feature for Tamagotchis. It saves a lot of money replacing batteries. As I booted up the game, I was instantly surprised by the language interface, along with the convenient way to adjust the year, month, and date. You can even set up the order the date is displayed if you like. I also like the nickname option, but I believe that was already a feature in the Tamagotchi connection. I also love how you can connect it to the Wi-Fi. It feels a little easier to connect to the internet than the Tamagotchi connection seemed. Now that I'm booting up, we see the baby in this Tamagotchi game. It looks similar to a Magatama, which I thought was pretty cool. Now, interface seems to be the same as the old games, except that it's all on one screen. We have the items, which brings us to accessories, items, furniture, and crafts. We also have the outside that brings us to the arcade, the mall, and the walk, but I couldn't use some due to my Tamagotchi being a baby. There's also an option to connect to Tamagotchis nearby, but I also couldn't use that right now. There's a phone that calls the sitter, social, which showcases your Tama's personal social media, and past Tamas, which show the Tamagotchis that you've owned previously. The hunger and happy meters are also a lot different. They are much larger than the previous generations. They also have different shapes. Hunger is an onigiri, meanwhile the happy meter is a line that goes from red to pink. You also get more toys and food options in this game. You start with a milk and a rattle, along with a Roomba. You also get care icons, and let me tell you, it was surprising to even get rewarded for a poo count. If you hold the first button, you'll be taken to a watch interface. On this, you can switch out the faces and check the current battery level for your Uni. Now that my baby grew up a little, we can now check them all. There's a large array of items, clothes, furniture, and rooms to buy. However, I currently only have 300 coins thanks to Evolution. Now onto the arcade. There's 3 games. One requires a watch band to be on, and it's a dance game. The second is a diner dash where you have to give these egg guys their meals and it stops when it reaches 10. The last one is a picture game that apparently changes every season. And with this you have to hit the buttons fast to take a picture of an egg family in front of some fireworks. We also have an option where you can walk your Tama, however. I haven't played much of it yet. From what I see with most of them, it's a little similar to Pokemon Go. You walk and your Tamagotchi walks with you for about 19 minutes. You also get rewards for this, primarily DIYs. There's a farm area that doesn't require any walking, so you can just go to the farm and gather food by tilting your Tamagotchi. This is how you get dyes, and you can dye things for your Tama. Lastly, we're heading to the Tamaverse. This connects you to the internet with other Tamas. and it seems like they say hello to you in their languages. Typically, I get English tamas. Well, one time I got a tama saying hi to me in Japanese. There's a few things you can do here. You can party, but you have to be an adult. You can bring your Tamagotchi traveling. I took my tama out to the snow area, so this time we'll go to Italy. Thanks to the traveling, I got a pretty sofa. You can also buy some clothes here as well. Would I recommend this to someone who has played the older games? Yes, I would. I feel like there's a lot to do this generation and I enjoy it greatly. My only downside is of course the sounds. However, with a recent update you can alter the sound, which is great. Overall I'd give this version a 9 out of 10. Even though the price of the Uni is about $60 US, I feel like it's a lot of bang for your buck. You'll not only get a variety of clothing options, a colored screen, and a variety of games, but you can also travel with your Tama, connect with friends, and you can do events. And I believe the most recent one was a racing one. Though sadly there isn't much interesting color options right now show-wise. Many people have been taking time into crocheting things for the Uni, designing faceplates, and painting everything themselves. But hopefully that'll change in the far future. This is DreamieTube, signing off.